I never imagined my own daughter would look me in the eyes and tell me I wasn't family. But that's exactly what happened. It was the morning my grandson was born. A moment I had waited for. A moment I dreamed about. A moment every mother hopes to share with her child. Instead, I woke up to a message that shattered me. The kind of message you read 3 times because the first two, you convince yourself you misunderstood. It said, "Mom, please don't come to the hospital. I only want family there." Family. That one word cut deeper than anything she had ever said to me. In that moment, I sat on the edge of my bed, gripping my phone so tightly my hand trembled. How could I, the woman who raised her, the woman who sacrificed everything for her, suddenly no longer be considered family? Was I really so unwanted, so disposable, or was something more going on? I stared at that message, trying to understand where I had gone wrong. All the nights I stayed awake caring for a sick child, all the birthdays I worked overtime just to afford her gifts, all the times I swallowed my pride to make sure she felt loved, even when life was tearing me apart. And now, I was being told to stay away from the birth of my own grandson. Something inside me whispered, "This isn't her. Someone else is behind this." But pain still hit me like a wave I couldn't escape. As I sat there, heartbroken, confused, and humiliated, another message came in. Not an apology, not an explanation, just a repeat. "Mom, please, don't come." I didn't argue. I didn't fight. I just sat there, staring at my reflection in the dark screen of my phone, realizing I wasn't invited to one of the most important moments of her life. And for the first time ever, I felt truly alone. But what my daughter and her husband didn't know, what they never imagined, was that this moment, this betrayal, would uncover a truth so shocking it would change our entire family forever. A truth that would expose lies, manipulation, and years of silent resentment. A truth that would force all of us to confront the past we'd been running from. A truth that would take me from being pushed out of my grandson's birth to holding the power to reunite or destroy the family they claimed I didn't belong to. Before you judge my daughter, before you accuse her of cruelty, you need to understand something. Our story didn't start at that hospital door. It began years earlier, with a bond that was once unbreakable, and slowly, quietly, painfully cracked. Because the truth is, my daughter Emily and I have never had a simple relationship. I raised her alone. No child support, no partner to lean on. Just me, and the weight of two people's responsibilities. When Emily was little, she clung to me like I was her whole world. She'd wait at the window every evening, face pressed against the glass, until she saw me walking home from my second job. She'd run to me, arms wide open, like nothing in the world mattered except that moment. But love, real love, sometimes leaves scars, because everything I did to provide for her looked to her young eyes like absence. She didn't see the bills I paid. She didn't see the nights I cried behind bathroom doors. She didn't see the exhaustion in my bones. All she saw was that Mom wasn't always there. By the time she became a teenager, that absence turned into resentment. The arguments began, over curfews, over friends, over the simplest things. But if I'm honest, the real fights weren't about rules. They were about two people trying to heal wounds neither of us knew how to talk about. I remember one night in particular. She was 16. I came home late from a double shift, smelling like bleach and hospital cafeteria food. She stood in the kitchen doorway with her backpack on, anger written all over her face. "Mom," she said, "why can't you just be home like other parents?" It was the first time she accused me of choosing work over her. She didn't know I'd picked up that shift, because I couldn't afford her exam fees otherwise. But I didn't defend myself. I just stood there, holding the guilt like a stone in my stomach. And that became our pattern. She'd lash out, I'd crumble, neither of us understanding the other. Then came college. She desperately wanted independence, or maybe distance. Her first semester away felt like a relief for both of us. Less fighting, less pressure, less hurt. But college brought someone else into her life. Someone who would quietly, almost invisibly, pull her even further from me. His name was Adam, and from the moment I met him, I felt a chill. He was polite, always polite, too polite, the kind of polite that hides judgment behind a smile. And slowly I watched as Emily's resentment, once muted, once manageable, began to grow into something sharper, something guided, something encouraged. There were family dinners where Adam would make small comments. "Oh, Emily told me you were always stressed when she was growing up. She mentioned she had to raise herself a lot." Always said with a smile, always sounding helpful, but always twisting the knife a little deeper. Emily started repeating things I knew she'd never thought before, things I knew didn't come from her heart. One night she said, "Mom, sometimes I feel like you suffocate me with guilt." And that was the moment I realized my daughter wasn't distancing herself by accident. Someone was whispering into her ear, someone who benefited from her pushing me out, someone who wanted to be the center of her world. But even with all the tension, all the misunderstandings, Emily and I still had moments of closeness, moments that reminded me she did love me, even if she had trouble showing it. We laughed during holiday baking. We cried together when our old family dog passed. We hugged tightly the day she told me she was pregnant. There was still love. There was still hope. There was still a bond worth protecting. But somewhere between her growing fears and Adam's growing influence, that bond began to stretch thinner than I realized. And the day she told me she was expecting was the same day I felt the distance between us more than ever. Because even though she hugged me, even though she smiled, there was something else behind her eyes. A hesitation, a quiet reluctance, a shadow of doubt, as if she wasn't sure whether to let me in or keep me out. A hesitation that would eventually lead to that heartbreaking message the morning her son was born. A message that would force me to question everything I thought I knew about my daughter and myself. When Emily told me she was pregnant, I thought everything was about to change for the better. She called me one evening, voice trembling with excitement. "Mom, I'm going to have a baby." I cried, not because I was becoming a grandmother, but because I believed, for the first time in years, that this tiny new life would bring us closer again. I imagined doctor visits together, shopping for baby clothes, redecorating the nursery, late-night calls asking for advice, all the moments I missed with her growing up. I hoped I could finally experience through her becoming a mother. But almost immediately, things didn't feel the way I expected them to. It started small, subtle, the kind of things you try to brush off at first. Emily would cancel our lunch dates, then she'd avoid my calls, then she'd reply to my messages with one-word answers. At first, I blamed morning sickness, fatigue, mood swings. I told myself, don't take it personally. Pregnancy is hard, but the distance kept growing. Weeks turned into months, and I slowly realized I wasn't just being pushed aside, I was being replaced. One afternoon, I invited her to go baby shopping. I'd saved up to buy her the crib she wanted. She hesitated, and that hesitation cut me deeper than anything. "Mom, Adam and I already bought everything. We handled it." She said it with a smile, but there was a wall behind that smile, a wall that hadn't been there before, a wall someone else was building. Her baby shower was the moment everything became clear. I walked into a room full of decorations, friends, laughter, but something felt wrong immediately. Emily seemed nervous to see me, like my presence made her uncomfortable. Adam's mother stood beside her like a queen, directing everything, claiming every detail, taking up every bit of space I had hoped would be mine. When I walked up to Emily with a gift I had saved months to buy, Adam's mother whispered loudly, "Oh, she didn't need to bring anything. We've already taken care of the essentials." And my daughter, my own daughter, didn't defend me, didn't correct her, didn't even look embarrassed. She just smiled and changed the subject. I stood there, surrounded by people who barely knew my daughter, feeling like a stranger in a room where I should have been the closest person to her. The worst part, not one picture from the shower included me, not one moment, not one memory. I was there, but also invisible. After the shower, things only got worse. She stopped visiting altogether. Our conversations, when they happened, felt rehearsed, as if she was checking a box instead of talking to me. And every time I offered support, groceries, meal prep, helping with appointments, she'd shut me down. "Mom, it's fine. Mom, I don't need help. "Mom, everything's under control." But it wasn't under control. I could hear the stress in her voice, the fear creeping in as her due date approached. Still, she kept pushing me further away. One day, I asked gently, "Emily, are you mad at me? Did I do something?" She paused for a long time before answering. "No, I just want calm. I want a peaceful birth. No stress. No stress." Those two words echoed in my mind for days. I kept wondering, was I her stress? Had all the years of miscommunication turned me into a source of anxiety for her? Or was someone telling her that I was? Because every time I visited, Adam would hover around her as if guarding her from me. He'd answer questions for her, speak over her, guide her towards certain decisions. One evening, I overheard him whisper, "She doesn't need too many people around. Less drama, less drama." Another cut, another insinuation that I was the problem. And I realized Emily wasn't just distancing herself. She was being nudged, pushed, influenced, not by pregnancy hormones, not by stress, but by someone who wanted control. Still, I held on to hope, hope that when labor came, when fear and excitement hit her all at once, she would call for me, that she would need me, want me, reach for me. I imagined driving to the hospital, holding her hand during contractions, whispering encouragement the way I wished someone had done for me when I gave birth to her. I imagined us healing together through this moment. But instead, I woke up to that message, the message that said everything I had feared but never wanted to believe. "Mom, don't come. I only want family." The baby I thought would bring us closer was becoming the reason we broke apart, and I still didn't know why. Not yet. The morning my grandson came into the world should have been the happiest day of my life. Instead, it became the day I felt the sharpest pain I've ever known. It was around 5:12 a.m. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Half asleep, I reached for it, thinking Emily was finally in labor and needed me. But when I unlocked the screen, my heart dropped. There was no excitement. No, "Mom, it's happening." No trembling voice asking for support. Just a message. Cold, short, detached. "Mom, don't come to the hospital. I only want family here." I stared at the words for so long that the screen dimmed and locked again. I thought I read it wrong. I thought maybe she meant something else. Maybe it auto-corrected. Maybe I was dreaming. But when I opened it again, there it was. "Don't come." Two words that felt like a knife. I sat up in bed and read the message over and over, my mind refusing to believe what my eyes were seeing. "Only family." I whispered it under my breath, like I was trying to understand why my own child suddenly didn't think I was part of her family anymore. My first instinct was to call her, to ask what happened, to ask why. But my hands trembled so badly that I couldn't even press the call button. Instead, I texted, "Emily, sweetheart, why? What's going on? Are you okay?" I saw the three little typing dots appear, then disappear, then appear again, like she was struggling with what to say. Finally, her reply came, "Wom, I'm fine. We just want the delivery to be peaceful. Too many voices will stress me out. Too many voices. As if my voice, my presence, my existence would bring chaos instead of comfort." My chest tightened. I knew this wasn't her. Not fully, not naturally. Someone was influencing this. Still, I tried again. "Sweetheart, I just want to be there for you. Please don't shut me out today of all days." Another long pause. Another message. "Wom, please stop. This is what I need." And that broke me. I didn't want to argue while she was in labor. I didn't want to add to her stress. So I sent the hardest message I've ever typed in my life. "Okay, I'll stay home. I love you." I stared at the screen until my tears blurred the words. She didn't respond. For the rest of the morning, I sat in the living room in total silence. The clock ticked loudly. Every minute felt like an hour. I kept looking at my phone, praying for an update, a photo, a sign of life. Nothing, no call, no text, no message from her husband, not even a courtesy update. The hours dragged on, and I sat there in the home I built for her, feeling like a stranger in her life. Around noon, my sister called. She asked how everything was going, and when I told her I wasn't allowed at the hospital, She went silent. "What do you mean you're not allowed?" she finally asked. I repeated the message, word for word, my voice cracking with every syllable. Her reply was sharp, angry. "That's not Emily. Someone is feeding her this nonsense. This wasn't my daughter's natural decision. This wasn't her heart speaking. This was fear, pressure, influence." And I knew exactly where it came from. Adam, the man who never wanted me around, the man who subtly pushed me out of every milestone, the man who spoke for her, thought for her, decided for her, but knowing that didn't make the pain any easier to bear. At 4:23 p.m., after nearly 11 hours of silence, my phone finally lit up. It was a picture of my grandson, wrapped in a hospital blanket, eyes closed, perfect, beautiful, and beneath the photo, a short caption, "Baby is here. We're all doing well. We're all doing well." But I wasn't there. I wasn't included. I wasn't wanted. I held the phone to my chest and cried until I couldn't breathe, not just because I missed the birth, but because my daughter didn't even think to call me afterward, didn't ask if I wanted to see him, didn't say she missed me. I was an outsider looking into my own family, but the pain didn't stop there. A few hours later, my neighbor who works at the same hospital sent me a message. "Hey, I thought you were coming today. I saw Adam's family there. His parents, his sister, everyone was allowed in. Everyone except me. They weren't limiting visitors. They weren't reducing stress. They weren't trying to keep things quiet. They were keeping me out. On purpose." And suddenly, the pieces started falling into place. This wasn't about peaceful birth. This wasn't about stress. This wasn't about calm. Someone didn't want me there. Someone had spent months pulling my daughter away. Someone wanted control. And I was beginning to understand who and why. But the truth, the real truth, would only reveal itself when I finally confronted the situation head on. A confrontation that would expose lies, secrets, and the shocking reason I was barred from that hospital room. For the first time in my life, I didn't know where I belonged. I sat in my small living room, phone in hand, staring at it like it might suddenly light up with a message from Emily. She had promised me, "We'll let you know once the baby is here." But that promise, like so many others lately, had vanished into cold, empty air. I kept glancing at the clock. Minutes crawled by, hours stretched like days. And with every passing second, the knot in my stomach tightened. By evening, I still hadn't heard a word. I checked social media. Nothing. I checked my messages. Nothing. I even checked my voicemail. Empty. It wasn't just silence. It was exclusion, a deliberate shutting me out. My mind raced through 100 possibilities. Maybe she was in labor. Maybe something had gone wrong. Maybe she was just exhausted. Maybe she was angry. But then that thought hit me harder than anything else. What if she simply doesn't want me to be part of this moment? The thought cut deeper than I expected, sharper than I'd ever admit to anyone. I tried to stay positive. I made tea. I never even drank. I paced the hallway. I sat on the edge of my bed, hands trembling in my lap. I whispered to myself over and over, "It's fine, she'll call. I know she will, she just needs time." But deep down, I knew the truth. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was distance, intentional, painful, and growing. The kind of distance a mother fears, not because she doesn't understand it, but because she recognizes it all too well. At 2 a.m., just as I was drifting into a restless sleep, my phone finally buzzed. My heart leapt. I grabbed it instantly. It was a message from Emily. Not a call, not an invitation, not even a picture. Just 5 cold words that cut straight through my chest. "Baby arrived, we're fine." No name, no weight, no details, no mom. No. "Would you like to meet him?" Just formality. Like a message I'd receive at work from someone I barely knew. I read it over and over, hoping against hope that maybe I'd missed something. A smiley face, a comma, some hint of warmth. But there was nothing. My hands started shaking, my throat tightened, tears blurred my vision. This was my first grandchild, a moment I had dreamed of for years. I had pictured holding him, whispering blessings over him, welcoming him into the world with all the love a mother could give. I whispered to the empty room, my voice breaking, "Why? What did I do? But no answer came, only silence. The kind of silence that hurts more than any words ever could. 4 days after the baby was born, my phone rang. It wasn't the call I had been hoping for. It was from a number I didn't recognize. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the screen, and finally answered. Hi, is this Maria? I'm Nurse Evelyn from St. Helena Hospital. My heart jumped into my throat. Was something wrong with the baby? With Emily? Yes, yes, this is Maria. Is everything okay? I asked, my voice trembling. There was a long pause, too long. Everything is fine now, but there was something your daughter asked us not to tell you. I froze. Those were words no mother ever expects to hear. The nurse explained gently that there had been complications during childbirth, not life-threatening, but enough to frighten Emily. She had been overwhelmed, scared, trembling, and in her panic she had told the hospital staff, "Please don't call my mother. I don't want her here. I can't handle her stress. I just want peace." The words cut into my chest like a blade. Stress, peace. She didn't want me because she was afraid of me? My eyes filled with tears, but I kept listening. "There's more," the nurse said softly. "Something she said that concerned me. She said she felt pressured by you. She said she never felt she could do anything right in front of you. She said she was afraid you would judge her as a mother." My throat tightened. I wanted to defend myself, to tell her I had only ever tried to help, to guide, to support. But the nurse continued. "She told us, my mother made me feel small my entire childhood. I just want to be the mother I never got to have." And that was the moment my heart shattered. For the first time, I realized my daughter had been carrying a pain I never knew about. A pain that had formed slowly, quietly, invisibly, through my strictness, through my expectations, through the tough love parenting I thought was necessary. I sat in silence, my mind drifting back to moments I had forgotten. Moments she clearly had not. The time she cried over a B+ in school, and I told her, "You can do better." The time she begged to join a school trip, and I said no, focus on your studies. The time she wanted a birthday party, and I insisted we couldn't afford frivolous things. I could feel the weight of all those moments pressing down on me now, and I finally understood the distance between us and why she had felt the need to push me away at the one moment I had longed to be near. None of it was ever meant to harm. I truly believed I was doing what was right, preparing my daughter for a hard world, trying to protect her from disappointment, trying to mold her into someone strong, capable, ready for anything. But somewhere along the way, she didn't see my love. She saw pressure, she saw judgment, she saw a mother whose approval she felt she could never fully earn, and my chest clenched with regret. Then Nurse Evelyn hesitated, and I could feel my heart pound in my ears. She also said something else, something she never said directly to you. She said. I swallowed hard, a lump forming in my throat. Slowly the nurse repeated her words. "I want my child to arrive in peace, not in the shadow of expectations. I want to start fresh. I want to be the kind of mother she wasn't." I felt my heart stop. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't meant to hurt me. But it was honest, and honesty can cut deeper than anything else. In that moment, I finally understood. My daughter hadn't kept me away out of spite. She had kept me away out of fear, fear of repeating the same childhood wounds, fear of being judged, fear of failing in front of someone who always demanded perfection. The phone slipped from my hand. I covered my mouth as tears streamed down my face. I finally saw the truth I had been blind to for years. She wasn't pushing me away because she hated me. She was pushing me away because she feared becoming me. Through trembling lips, I whispered, I didn't know I hurt her." I sank to the floor, sobbing like a child. After a few minutes, Nurse Evelyn spoke again, her voice gentle but firm. "Maria, your daughter is exhausted. She's emotional. She's overwhelmed. She's also scared, not just of you, but of motherhood." I wiped at my tears, trying to steady myself. "I think she still needs you." The nurse continued. "She just doesn't know how to let you in." A silence filled the room, heavy but soft, and then she said something that shook me to my core. She might not say it, but this is the moment she needs her mother more than ever. For the first time since my grandson was born, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like a mother, a flawed, imperfect mother, but a mother who could finally see the path back to her daughter, not through guilt, Not through force, not through tears, but through understanding, through listening, through gentleness. I had never been taught, but I was willing to learn. I realized then that this was my chance, maybe my last chance, and I whispered to myself, I will not lose my daughter. Not now, not when she's hurting. I stood up, wiped my face, and took a deep, steady breath, because what I had discovered that day wasn't just about my daughter's fear, it was about me too, about my reflection, about the painful truth I had been avoiding for years. I hadn't slept. My pillow was still wet with tears from the night before, but something inside me had shifted. I couldn't sit in silence anymore. Not after learning the truth, not after realizing just how much pain my daughter had buried, pain I had never recognized. So early that morning, I dressed slowly, grabbed my coat, and drove toward her house. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. Every traffic light felt like a test of courage. Will she slam the door in my face? Will she even talk to me? Is this too soon? But I knew one thing. Silence had created the wound, and communication was the only thing that could begin to heal it. When I stood at her doorstep, my heart was pounding so loudly I could hear it in my ears. I lifted my hand to knock, and then froze. Behind the door, I heard a newborn's soft whimper, a tiny cry that pierced my soul with longing. I knocked gently. For a long moment, there was nothing. Then the door opened, just a crack. She appeared, hair messy, exhausted, pale, holding the baby against her chest. The look on her face wasn't anger, it was fear, and that hurt me even more. Mom, what are you doing here? She asked. I swallowed hard. I came to talk. Please, just talk, nothing else. She looked away, avoiding my eyes. I told you I needed space, she said quietly. I know, I said, and I'm not here to force myself into your life. I need to understand. Her jaw tightened, not in anger, but in exhaustion. Slowly, reluctantly, she stepped aside. 5 minutes, she muttered. I stepped inside. The room was dim and quiet. The baby was sleeping in her arms now, tiny, perfect. I wanted to hold him more than anything, but I didn't ask. Not yet. Not today. I sat on the couch while she stayed standing, a physical barrier that said more than words ever could. I took a deep breath. I spoke to one of the nurses. I said softly, she told me you were scared of me being there. She closed her eyes. I didn't want you to know that, she whispered. Why? I asked. Because I didn't want to hurt you. But I didn't want you to hurt me. My chest twisted. I need to know what I did, I said, my voice trembling. I can't fix what I don't understand. She hesitated, and then finally let her truth spill out. Mom, you were always strong, always put together, always in control, and I always felt like I was failing next to you. I blinked back tears. My whole childhood, she continued, I tried to be the girl you wanted. Perfect grades, perfect behavior, no mistakes, no emotions. Because if I slipped just a little, you'd say I wasn't trying hard enough. She looked down at the baby. I didn't want my son to enter the world with the same pressure I grew up with. I didn't want you judging me while I was trying to bring him into this world. My chest tightened with guilt. I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know, I whispered. She wiped her eyes. I know you didn't, but that doesn't mean it didn't hurt. I stood up slowly, unsteady, emotional, but sincere. I'm sorry, I said. Not the kind of sorry that tries to erase the past, but the kind of sorry that accepts it. I stepped closer, carefully, respectfully. I took a deep breath, my voice shaking, and I spoke from my heart. I thought I was protecting you. I thought I was preparing you for life. I didn't realize I was making you feel small. I paused, swallowing hard, and then added, I'm willing to change. I want to be someone safe for you, someone you don't have to fear. Just give me the chance, please. There was silence, a devastatingly long silence. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was quiet, fragile, trembling. I didn't want you at the birth because I was scared you would see me at my weakest and judge me. I felt my chest tighten. I reached out, my words gentle but firm. I wouldn't have judged you. I would have held your hand. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She whispered, I know, now. She stared at it for a long moment, and then slowly, carefully placed her hand in mine. It was the first real connection we'd had in years. Her eyes moved to the newborn sleeping in her arms, then back to me. "Would you like to hold him?" My breath caught in my throat. I nodded, unable to speak. She gently placed him into my arms, and in that quiet, trembling, miraculous moment, I felt it. The generations of pain, fear, misunderstanding, and distance between us, beginning to melt away. Because sometimes all it takes is honesty, a conversation, a hand held in forgiveness, and a newborn reminding everyone what really matters. I sat on the couch, cradling my grandson, a tiny, warm bundle, breathing softly against my chest. Emily watched me, not with fear, not with tension, but with something I hadn't seen in years: trust. The silence between us wasn't heavy anymore. It was peaceful, healing, soft. I whispered to the baby, my voice trembling, "You are so loved already, more than you will ever know." Emily came and sat beside me, closer than before, our shoulders almost touching. She inhaled shakily, and I waited, not wanting to interrupt this fragile moment. "Mom, can I tell you something?" she asked. I nodded gently, my heart pounding. "When you held him just now, I realized something." I looked at her, curious, softly urging her to continue. "I realized I don't want to do this without you." I blinked, stunned. My mouth opened to speak, but she went on. "I was scared," she admitted, her voice cracking. "Scared of motherhood, scared of messing up, scared of becoming a version of myself I didn't want to be." She wiped her eyes, and I felt a lump in my throat. "But when I saw you holding my son, I remembered that no matter what happened between us, you always showed up, you always fought, you always tried." My heart swelled. "And I need that," she continued. "He needs that. I want you in my son's life." My hands trembled as I held him closer, safe, secure against my chest. My voice broke as I whispered, "You have no idea what that means to me." Tears streamed down my cheeks, and I didn't hide them. For the first time in years, I didn't feel the need to be strong or perfect or composed. I was just a mother finally allowed back into her daughter's world. "I don't want our past to repeat," Emily said softly. "I want something better for him, for us." I nodded, emotional, my voice gentle but firm. "Then let's build it, slowly, gently, together." She smiled softly, the kind of smile that lifts a mother's heart. "Together," she said, placing her hand on mine. "A silent promise, a new beginning, a bridge rebuilt, not through perfection, but through vulnerability." I kissed my grandson's forehead and whispered, "I will love him with my whole heart, and I will love you with patience this time." Emily leaned her head on my shoulder, and we sat there, 3 generations, wrapped in the warm glow of forgiveness, finally breathing the same air without the weight of the past between us. And for the first time in a long, long time, we felt like a family again. The air between Emily and me felt different now, lighter, warmer. The tension, the unspoken resentment, it was finally starting to fade. But healing didn't happen overnight. It came slowly, in tiny pieces, tiny moments, tiny choices. And those choices, they began to transform everything. For me, it started with the hardest part, changing myself. I stopped giving advice unless she asked. I stopped correcting every little thing. I stopped trying to control her life. Instead, I listened. I watched. I offered support, quietly, gently, like a mother learning motherhood all over again. When Emily struggled with feeding schedules or sleepless nights, I didn't criticize. I simply asked, softly, "How can I help?" It felt strange at first, new, but it felt right. And slowly, I saw her change too. She no longer spoke to me like I was an enemy. She no longer hid her struggles out of pride or fear. She no longer saw me as a shadow over her motherhood, but as a hand beside it. She started calling me at night, not for conflict, not for tension, but for connection. Sometimes she would whisper, "I'm sorry I pushed you away," and other times, "I'm glad you're here." I treasured every word, every single one. The baby grew so quickly, 1 month old already. His eyes, wide and curious, observed the world without a hint of the past wounds that had kept us apart. He became the bridge between us, between a mother and daughter who were learning how to love each other differently. I would rock him to sleep while Emily watched, a soft smile on her face, grateful, relieved, almost amazed at the peace that now filled the room. Because sometimes the biggest changes happen in the quietest moments. For me, this journey taught me humility, a deeper understanding of how my own actions had shaped Emily. For her, it gave clarity. She realized I wasn't the enemy, just a flawed human being trying my best. And together, it gave us growth, transforming a fractured relationship into something gentler, stronger, and more honest than it had ever been before. A family healed, a mother redeemed, a daughter reborn, and a baby who would grow up not surrounded by tension, but by love, hard-won and deeply earned. The consequence of truth is transformation, and for the first time in our lives, we embraced it. Life doesn't always give us second chances, but sometimes it gives us the clarity to see the truth, to understand where we went wrong, to forgive and to rebuild. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that silence can hurt more than anger, distance can wound more than words, and fear can keep people apart when all they really need is love. To all mothers, daughters, and families watching, don't wait for a crisis to speak your truth. Don't wait for regret to teach you the hard lessons. Reach out, listen, forgive, love, because in the end, it's never about who's right or wrong. It's about family. It's about being there when it matters most. And it's about showing the ones we love that they will always have a place in our hearts. Family isn't perfect, but love can heal what time and distance cannot.